Hello everybody, and welcome back to another Farming Simulator 25 map guide. Today we're going to be taking a look at the Palatinate Forest. But before that, this video is brought to you by Claire Barton and Bremlick. Thank you for being farm barons. So the Palatinate Forest map can be found at the farmingsimulator.com website or the in-game downloadable content menu, and as of the 1.0 release, this map is available for PC and Mac players only. Now let me read you the description. Welcome to the Palatinate Forest, a large continuous forest in the area of Germany and part of the cross border between the Palatinate Forest northern Vosges Biosphere Reserve. Okay. Characterized by deep valleys with steep slopes and dense mixed forests, it offers unique landscapes for hikers, nature lovers, and forestry industry. You can expect on this map real terrain with real-world elevation models, real-life roads and paths, 82,000 trees, 52 purchasable forest areas with deciduous, coniferous, and mixed forests, 2 purchasable production areas, 4 points of sale, 2 pre-built farms, 35 spots for transport missions, and this map does have 7 required mods. So after we factor in the size of the map and the required mods, we're looking at a total download size of 349 megabytes. Those required mods are the bulk material warehouse, heavy duty rack element, fuel tank 5,000 liters, meadow fence pack, barrier package, metal shelter pack, and the double rod mat fence pack. With all that said, let's now jump back over here to the map and, well, take a look at the PDA. This is 100% going to be a forestry map. It is a massive, massive, dense forest. And I have to say, if you were a forestry lover, this map is going to be so far up your alley, you are probably never going to move off this particular map. And to that extent, this map does load down the system pretty good. I did test this map on my low-end test system, and I did see frame rates in the low to mid 30s if I was low to the ground. As soon as I got anywhere up off the ground in a far distance third-person type view, frames absolutely tanked. They were like mid 20s at best, which even with my settings, medium settings with frame gen enabled, I was looking at stuff in the 40s. As far as FPS. But again, if you stay low to the ground, then you're going to be able to expect frame rates probably anywhere between 60 and 75 FPS. As long as you don't get too much equipment in any one spot, then you should be pretty good. This map does have all the standard crops available to us in Farm Sim 25. Should you clear off some land and actually be able to do a bit of forestry, because we do have some fairly flat plateaus up here that could turn themselves into some decent farmland once you cleared out all those trees. Now, with respect to the precision farming soil map, we're not going to try to expose the soil map because, well, there's only one little field. That's right here, field 19. But this is making use of the EU soil map that is a part of the precision farming mod. Now, as far as farmland we own to start, we start up owning farmland ID 19, which does include this field up here, as well as 2 little plots of land just to the west of where we spawn in on a brand new game save. We've got our starting vehicles down here. Sands are side by side, and then we have a little shed right across the street. We also own a small forestry area here at Farmland ID 20. With respect to our crop counter, should we do any farming on this map, we do have our standard FS25 crop counter available to us. There are no animals on this map. In fact, there's also no animal dealer on this map. We do have some contracts available scattered around, wood transport, dead wood, and so forth. We do have 2 sawmills available to us, but we do not own any at the start. And we have, I counted up 2 sell points. I assume if you don't own the sawmills, well, then you'll have another 2 sell points, and that's where we get 4 from the description. This map does not have any collectibles. Now, with respect to your starting equipment, if we take a look at our garage menu, you'll see the Kubota RTV XG X50 Sidekick, side by side, and we have the Fendt 516 Vario small tractor. We have the log forks, and we have the Hauer XB150 front loader arms for our tractor. And then we wrap it up with the P13 4272 log transport trailer. That's our starting machinery. So we start out very, very small and focus specifically on forestry. Now, this map also does not have any custom vehicles or implements included. As I mentioned, we start here, not at our farmhouse. We don't actually have a farmhouse trigger on this map, at least not with our starting machinery. We have our Kubota side by side. And then if we make our way down this road a little bit, we have a small shed over here on the left that is going to be owned at the start. It's part of Farmland ID 19. And you can sell the shed if you wanted to clear this area out, but do be aware that some of these deco items, like this ladder and these wheels, they do remain. So it might be advisable just to leave the shed there. And then we have this farmland that we own at the start. I was not successful in selling anything down at this area. And we have our tractor, we have our log transport trailer, our front loader arms, and our log forks. Now let's jump back here to the PDA because there's a couple things I want to point out. Farmland ID 18. If we purchase Farmland ID 18, well, we're going to have access to pallet storage, a sawmill, and fuel. If we come up here to Farmland ID 55, we're also going to have access to a sawmill and pallet storage. And then Farmland ID 56 is going to be the second farm that was mentioned in the description. That's going to include a farmhouse and some fuel. If we zoom out, we have fuel up here in the upper right corner of the map, or northeast corner of the map. This is also where our vehicle dealership is going to be located. Along the river valley, we have a biomass heating plant. And then way over here to the west, deep in the woods, and quite a maze of roads in order to get to it, we're going to find a farmer's market. And that's pretty much what we have on this map outside of dense forest. Get a little altitude, not too terrible much. And I wanted to just kind of make my way back here. Well, we might as well get a little bit of height to it. So we can kind of see where our roads are. Remember, we need to get here to Farmland ID 20. That's going to be our starting farm, our starting forest, if you will. I think we then make our way this way to eventually wind ourselves over here at Farmland ID 20. That's going to be our starting forest. Let's keep getting some height. And there's the map. And we just keep getting some height. We see some plateaus where we could definitely clear off some land and get a little bit of agriculture going on. Let's come back down lower. This is going to be Farmland ID 18. As I mentioned, if we purchase this, we're going to have pallet storage. We're also going to have some machine storage. We have also a sawmill at this particular location, and a fuel point. Here we have our starting point, and we have then, I guess, our starting farm right here and this shed. So if we continue to make our way up the valley road, We're going to eventually make our way up here to a little bit of a clearing, where we're going to find farmland ID 19, or the field associated with farmland ID 19, right here. And then continue up the road a little bit more. We have our biomass heating plant located right there. So that's going to be for selling logs and wood chips. And then if we continue to make our way up the valley road, again to the northeast corner, we're going to find our vehicle dealership and our fuel point. So we have our fuel buy point located right there. We have our dealer maintenance trigger located right here. And we're going to find our dealer purchase trigger here at the doors. So let's just go ahead and pick something else up. Got a modest area here for our vehicles and such to spawn. Pretty narrow gate, though, also to get out of this area. And I would say, since most of the forestry stuff is pretty darn slow as far as driving it around, you're probably going to want to transport stuff on low loader from here to wherever you're going. And speaking of wherever you're going, well, if you find your way further here to the north in another valley region, the extreme northern portion of the map, here we're going to find farmland ID 55, and this is where we're going to find our larger sawmill, as well as bale and pallet storage, if we own this land, and some machine storage. Just up from that, we have a small farmhouse. And again, if we buy farmland ID 56, we'll have access to this, and we'll have access to a sleep trigger, we'll fuel, and then we'll have some storage. We continue to make our way through this small valley road. We're going to eventually wind our way over to the final sell point that we're going to talk about here today, and that's going to be the farmer's market. Now, just in behind the farmer's market, we also have a bit of an open area where we could go and put other things down, or use this as a staging ground, possibly for foresting some of these steep slopes. So guys, that is it. That is the Palatinate Forest, or Palatinate Forest. I don't know why I struggle with this name, but at any rate, let me know your thoughts down in the comments below. Curious on what you think of this particular map, given the fact that it is an extreme forestry themed map. I think it's going to have kind of some pretty focused interest. It's not going to be generally broad interested map, but I do think those who are interested in forestry will definitely sit up and take notice. No doubt this is only released for PC because consoles would likely struggle pretty significantly with all of the trees that we're going to have again on this map, because like I said earlier, I was seeing frame rates low to mid 30s, and that was if I was low to the ground, as in like on the ground or something like this, and that was manageable. But if I got any sort of altitude, maybe to here, it started to become a stuttering mess, because I was seeing frame rates in the low 20s. And even with frame gen, that equates out to 44 or so. And it was pretty difficult to basically get around without having a lot of stuttering. And as such, I would say you probably wouldn't have the best experience, again, if you're on maybe a slightly underpowered system. Until next time, happy farming.